What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Guys, we're reacting to some staff news. The Colts were making some staff changes today, or the lack thereof, and keeping some guys around. But we're going to bring it into you guys right now. Earlier on Sunday afternoon, the Indianapolis Colts announced that James Bettcher will be the new linebackers coach for the Indianapolis Colts this upcoming season. And the Indianapolis Colts announced later Sunday night as well that Charlie Partridge will be staying with the Indianapolis Colts coaching staff. So the Colts are not going to kick him out the door after one season as the defensive line coach. So one position group coach staying and another one returning. Cody, we'll start with Bettcher since he is the newcomer here. Has been has been a coach for the last 12 years in the NFL. And amazingly enough, has only been with about 5 different teams. So it's not like this guy has been completely passed around the league. Actually started his career with the Indianapolis Colts back in 2012, was the outside linebackers coach / special assistant to the head coach, and then went to Arizona, where he spent the next 5 seasons upgrading from outside linebackers coach to then defensive coordinator for 3 years, then went to the New York Giants to be their defensive coordinator for a few years. And then in 2020, did not have a place of employment there, but in 2021 went on to be a part of the San Francisco 49ers, where he was their run game specialist / senior defensive assistant coach, and then went on to Cincinnati, where he actually is a part of the Lou Anarumo defensive coaching staff, and he was their linebackers coach for the last 3 seasons. So, has been a lot of linebacker coach experience in this guy's NFL resume. Has had some defensive coordinator experience, some good, some bad, depending on how you look at it. But, I mean, Cody, we talked about it off stream. Like, this is a guy that, he's been around a couple different teams, but he is familiar with Lou. And he's not been a guy that's been passed around a ton over the last few years like some of the coaches have been. What's your initial reaction to seeing Bettcher being the new linebacker coach?
Yeah, like you said, not surprising. I mean, we wondered, if we talked about players, but we didn't really talk about coaches. But you kind of expected it. Some of these coaches from Lou's old staff would join him, so not super surprised here that that would be the case. And coming over, and like you said, he's had a ton of experience. Over a decade, as a coach, and has Indiana ties. He went to college at St. Francis. He helped coach at Ball State. That was kind of his first coaching experience, if you will. When you're looking at that, right? He was the special teams defensive line coach at Ball State. And like you said, obviously in 2012 with, Chuck Pagano, he was the linebackers coach and followed Bruce Arians to Arizona and stayed with there really until Bruce Arians left. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's had some success where he's gone. And I think it's also notable that he had, multiple years of being a defensive coordinator in this league. So he's definitely got a pretty decorated resume for a linebackers coach. And and the familiarity with Lou and his system, not too surprising here. And, a lot of people seem to like this hire. And, we've seen what he's been able to do with the Bengals linebackers. So, yeah, I'm good with that move, man. We let Lou get his staff. That's obviously they were going to let him assemble his staff and the first one. And, I know you had a quote. I'll let you read this real quick. But, if anybody's not sure, this quote, it's kind of in his favor. Like it was a good quote. I'll just say that. So, Derek, read that quote from Bettcher here.
Yeah, so this will definitely be interesting for the people who are looking for an attitude adjustment on the defense. So, Bettcher had this quote and said, "I'm blessed to go to my 5th NFL team or my 5th team, and you get a chance to see the things that fail in the National Football League were almost successful." He quoted saying, "We almost got in the Super Bowl. Everything is almost. the first thing you get to see is as you move around is you get to see how you get over the almost. Having a team that plays with energy, plays hard, and with grit, that's how you get over the almost. It's not some fancy scheme or some fancy this or that. So again, Cody, we know this. Like, we have heard that for how long now, Cody? For several years, right? That we're almost there. We're this close. We really like our guys. We're really close. Like, that's what we're hearing a lot. And, you're now getting a linebackers coach. You're saying that is the enemy of actual success in the NFL. You either are there or you're not there. But it's the almost there guys that hurt you. And so, I mean, that says a lot for a guy that, again, for a GM and a staff that keeps saying we're almost there. Here's a guy that's saying that's the epitome of what's wrong with the NFL.
Yeah, 100%. And how many guys on this team last year were almost there guys, guys that weren't giving everything, right? And I just love that emphasis. And it seems like you're getting back to what you had, early on in the Chris Ballard regime, right? Where, yeah, for all his faults, at least Matt Eberflus's defense played to the ball, right? At least they hustled. And it just felt like the last couple of years under Gus Bradley, that wasn't the standard that was withheld, right? And you saw last year, guys jogging, guys not giving 100%, linebackers not giving 100%, it seemed like at times, right? So I love that mindset of being able to, do that. I think it also reinforces what Lou said, right? I don't care if this guy is a 10-year vet or if he's, a rookie. Like, we're going to play the guys that earn it, essentially, right? So, yeah, I just love that mindset of, like, you're never going to be good enough. You're always trying to get better, right? And almost is not good enough. And that's what you need on that defensive side of the ball. That's the attitude adjustment that you need. And obviously, Derek, it's just words at this point, right? So, actions will speak louder than words. But in terms of what this linebacker core they need a guy like this that is not just going to say this stuff, but is actually going to enforce this stuff, right? And Betcher strikes me as a guy, I don't know him super well, but he strikes me as a guy that, is not going to just talk the talk, but he's going to make sure they walk the walk, right? So that's what you need in this linebacker core. I mean, just a core that was very underwhelming a year ago. And you need guys that are going to be in there and give 100% every play, or else they're not going to see the field. And I think, frankly, that's what you need. So that's a great quote, and I hope it translates because that's the type of attitude this defense needs.
Yep, 100%, especially in that linebacker room. But yeah, like you said, it's all talk right now. Want to see the team actually do something first. All right, so the other news that just came out literally an hour before we recorded this, Charlie Partridge will be staying with the Indianapolis Colts for this upcoming season. There was question marks on whether or not he will be retained with Lou Anarumo's new system. And, now we see he is staying. So obviously we look at the body of work last year, Cody. I don't remember how many sacks we had in 2023 in comparison to 2024. You do look at the defensive line, and again, you saw a lot of issues still at times, but you also had a lot more injuries that took hold on this defensive line than what there has been in years past. I mean, Cody, we're used to seeing like Kwity Paye go down or like somebody else, but like very rarely do we see, guys like DeForest Buckner have to miss games. Kwity Paye was actually one of the more healthy guys. Dio Adangbo missed time. Tyquan Lewis missed time. I think even Grover Stewart had a game or two in there that also he missed time. So, there was a ton of defensive line injuries that really hurt this defense for the Indianapolis Colts in a lot of different ways. It was Charlie Partridge's first time this year, doing something with this team. So, I mean, it does seem a little hypocritical to be able to, just get rid of him that quickly. But what's your feeling on Partridge remaining with the team for another year?
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this before, Derek, but let's just be honest. Gus Bradley's defensive scheme was god-awful. I mean, it was terrible. And yes, when you look at the pure numbers, again, we've said this before, Derek, pure numbers can lie. Now, that's not excusing this D-line because especially early in the season, it was bad, Derek. I mean, You were not able to get consistent pressure. You weren't able to stop the run to save your life. But then again, your entire defense couldn't tackle. So it's not just the defensive line. It just does feel like it is a better fit under Lou Anarumo's scheme. And it's a guy that was so highly regarded, Derek. I mean, we were talking about and praising it all of last offseason, and we weren't the only ones, right? So, yes, the body of work was a little bit underwhelming from the number standpoint, but you also got to factor in the things we talked about with, the defense just made it so easy, right, for opposing quarterbacks to 1, 2, 3 throw it, like the things were just open all the time. And so this defensive line really struggled to get after the quarterback because the quarterback was throwing it so quick a lot of times, right? It was so easy for them, right? So, yes, it definitely had its struggles, but I did feel like, Derek, as the season went along, especially in the run game, this defensive line really tightened it up, and I thought they did play it a lot better down the stretch. But yeah, the first couple of weeks were not good, really bad actually, but I did feel like it got better as it went along, and I think it's something where it's like, okay, I'm willing to give him another opportunity in a much better defensive system, a much more complex defensive system, right, where it's actually going to give your defensive line an opportunity to shine a little bit more, because I just felt like it played better. I don't necessarily think it was great, but I think it certainly played better than maybe the pure numbers gave it credit for. So I'm not saying it was like perfect at all, but I think it was certainly better than you look at and you say, it was better than the pure numbers would indicate, in my opinion. So as highly regarded as a coach as Charlie Partridge is, I'm willing to give it at least one more year with Lou. And again, Derek, we've talked about this before. I mean, if this doesn't work out, maybe none of them will be back, right? So I'm all right with that. And this was Lou's decision. I mean, I don't think there was any like Chris Ballard, interference here. It was all his decision. And Lou's been around for a long time, and he had his choice, Derek, and he chose Charlie. So, I mean, I think I should tell you something right there, how highly regarded Charlie Partridge is as a coach. So, and we you saw success at Pitt, right? So there has been success in the past. So I'm willing to at least give it another year, and to see. I think if there was anybody on this staff that had an opportunity to be retained, it was probably Charlie Partridge, right? Because defensive line can only do so much when your whole scheme is messed up, right? And again, that's about every position, but defensive line, I think, had some moments last year. I don't think it was as good as it was the season previous, but I think they had some moments where you're like, okay, I'm willing to at least give it one more year, because I do think Charlie Partridge is a good coach. I really do. And I'm just willing to give it another opportunity with an actual scheme in place that's going to give some opposing offenses something to think about. It's not going to be all right, we're lining up or we're not changing anything, So I don't know. For me, I'm all right with this. I'm not super surprised, to be honest with this. I'm okay with this just because Charlie's been around for a while and he's had some success, and obviously he's been highly regarded, and Lou regards him pretty highly as well.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for this one here, guys. Let us know your thoughts on Betcher as the new linebacker coach and Partridge staying as the defensive line coach. Only coach that's left to fill in, defensive backs coach. What the Colts are going to do there, we don't know. We will definitely keep you guys updated. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, go Colts.